إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد, then to continue with Usool Al Thalatha, the three fundamental principles compiled by Sheikh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, with the explanation of Sheikh Saleh-Al-Fawzan hafidhahullah. Then last week we had the point beginning in the main text of the three principles. فَإِذَا قِيلَ لَكَ مَنْ رَبُّكَ فَقُلْ رَبِّيَ اللَّهُ الَّذِي رَبَّانِي وَرَبَّى جَمِيعَ الْعَالَمِينَ بِنِعَمِهِ وَهُوَ مَعْبُودِي لَيْسَ لِي مَعْبُودٌ سِوَاهُ. So if it is said to you, who is your Lord, who is your Rabb, then say, my Lord is Allah, who nurtured me and all of the creation with His favours, and He is the one whom I worship, and there is no other one whom I worship besides Him. Then before we continue, then in this version, the printed version of the explanation of Sheikh Saleh-Al-Fawzan, there is a part of the text which is missed out from the text. Obviously it's included in the explanation, which may result, the fact that it's missed out from the text may result in some people finding it difficult to understand why suddenly the ayah was brought in, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The second ayah of Surah Al-Fatiha. Why this suddenly jumped into the explanation here? And the reason, of course, is because in the text, this was brought as the evidence for what Sheikh al-Islam had just said. So the text should have had the ayah inserted after that, in the main text there. So it should have been, فَإِذَا قِيلَ لَكَ مَنْ رَبُّكَ فَقُلْ رَبِّيَ اللَّهُ الَّذِي رَبَّانِي وَرَبَّى جَمِيعَ الْعَالَمِينَ بِنِعَمِهِ وَهُوَ مَعْبُودِي لَيْسَ لِي مَعْبُودٌ سِوَاهُ وَالدَّلِيلُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. So if it is said to you, who is your Lord, then say, my Lord is Allah, who nurtured me and all of the creation with His favours, and He is the one whom I worship, and there is no other one whom I worship besides Him. And the proof is His saying, He the Most High, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And the proof is His saying, He the Most High, the ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha, first surah, second ayah, with the explanation, all praise is for Allah, the Lord of the whole of creation. So as usual, Shaykh al-Islam brought an evidence for what he said, which was the ayah. Which is why, of course, Shaykh al-Fawzan explained the ayah. He explained the ayah word by word, explaining what is alhamd, what is meant by Rabb, and the Alameen. So that's why he explained that, because it is part of the text, even though it's not clear, so that needs writing into your text if you've got this explanation here. Something we didn't note at the time, an extra word that occurs in the text. Sometimes there are words missing from the text here, sometimes there are extra words inserted in the text. One of them being on page 52 of this Lebanese edition, where it came to the second initial treatise, the second initial matter, أن الله لا يرضى أن يشرك معه أحد غيره في عبادته. The second matter, that Allah is not pleased that anyone else should be associated with Him in worship. And this word غيره, it only occurs in this version which Sheikh Al-Fawzan has the explanation upon. It only occurs in that version. The other versions don't have that word there, غيره. So obviously somebody has memorized the book from before, and they'll probably not recognize that word being there. It's because it doesn't occur in other editions. The other editions just have أن الله لا يرضى أن يشرك معه أحد في عبادته. Then to continue, then we reached page 101 of this Lebanese edition, page 79 of the Egyptian edition, which is now available again. That the author, Sheikh al-Islam, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah, he continued, وَكُلُّ مَا سِوَى اللَّهِ عَالَمٌ وَأَنَا وَاحِدٌ مِنْ ذَلِكَ الْعَالَمِ. And everyone besides Allah is an alam, and everything besides Allah is a created being, and I am one of those created beings. The point that everything besides Allah, having just explained that Allah is the Rabb, the Lord and nurturer of the alameen, of every alam, then Shaykh al-Islam mentions what this word alam, which is in the plural being alameen, being everything, as he said, everything besides Allah is alam, and I am one of those, one of that alam, one of those created beings. Sheikh Al-Fawzan, hafidhahullah, he said in explanation, then the Shaykh, rahimahullah, he explained the manner in which this ayah is used as an evidence. Obviously referring back to the ayah that came last week, second ayah of Surah Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The explanation that all praise is for Allah, the Lord of the whole of creation. So Shaykh Al-Fawzan says here, then the Shaykh, rahimahullah, explained the manner in which this ayah is used as evidence. So he's saying, وَكُلُّ مَا سِوَى اللَّهِ عَالَمٌ, and everything besides Allah is an alam, is a created being, and I am one of those created beings. I am an alam, I am one of those created beings. So therefore Allah is my Lord, Allah is my Rabb, because he said because Allah is Rabbul Alameen, Allah is the Lord of all of the Alameen, Allah is the Lord of all of the created beings, and I am one of the Alameen, I am one of the created beings. So no one is able to say, I have a Rabb, I have a Lord, besides the Lord of the Alameen, besides the Lord of creation. Neither an unbeliever nor a Muslim. This will not be possible ever, and no person with intellect will say it. The Shaykh said, this is a proof for the rububiyyah. This is a proof for the lordship of Allah, the Mighty and Majestic. And since He is the Rabbul Alameen, since He is the Lord of the whole of the creation, then therefore He is the one deserving worship. Because He is the Lord of the whole of the creation, therefore He is the one deserving of ibadah, of worship. And this nullifies the worship of others besides Him, He, the Perfect and Most High. And therefore after it he said, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Obviously, same surah, Surah Al-Fatiha, the first surah, ayah 5. With the explanation, you alone do we worship, and your aid alone do we seek. Then Shaykh Fawzan explains this crucial ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. And he explains the wording, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. He said, this indicates al-hasr, this indicates restriction, meaning the way that it's worded, it indicates restriction. What the Shaykh is indicating here, meaning that worship is restricted for Allah. Worship is only for Allah. That's what's indicated by the form of the wording, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. you alone do we worship. So he said this indicates restriction. And then he brings a grammar point, because the fact that the governed word, al-ma'mul, is brought forward, iyyaka, and the governing verb is put back, na'budu, indicates restriction. Meaning that the word order has been changed from what would normally be used in the speech of people. That normally it would be said in Arabic speech, na'buduka, we worship you. The verb would come first, and then the one who is mentioned as being worshipped would come after. But here the order has been reversed. Iyyaka na'budu, with the explanation, you we worship. So the normal order has been reversed here. So the Shaykh is making the point here. So this indicates al-hasr, indicates restriction. He said, so iyyaka, you, na'budu, we worship, is different to na'buduka. It's different to just saying na'buduka, we worship you. Because saying na'budu, we worship, this is merely affirmation. I mean, if it were to be said na'budu, na'buduka, we worship you, all that would mean was affirmation that we worship the one that we're mentioning that we worship. A mere affirmation. But it would not be a denial and a negation of the worship of others. So the Shaykh said, however, iyyaka na'budu. However, the wording as it occurs in the ayah, with the explanation, you we worship. This includes an-nafi wal-ithbat. This includes negation and affirmation. Meaning, la na'budu ghayrak. We do not worship anyone else besides you. And when the phrase is put like this, iyyaka na'budu, and it means you alone we worship. We worship you, an affirmation of the worship of Allah, and negation of worship of anything besides Him. That's understood from the form of the wording. The word order is changed from what's normally found in the language. So this indicates something. The Shaykh is saying it indicates al-hasr, restriction of worship, the affirmation of worship for Allah, and a negation of worship for anything besides Him. He said, and ibadah and worship will not be correct except with an-nafi wal-ithbat, except with negation and affirmation. And the worship of a Muslim will not be correct if it's just affirmation of worship without negation of the worship of that which is false along with it. So he said worship will not be correct except with negation and affirmation, and it is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. None has the right to be worshipped except Allah, for it contains negation and affirmation. A negation of the right to be worshipped from everything besides Allah, an affirmation of it for Allah, the mighty and majestic. So the Shaykh is saying in both. In the ayah, iyyaka na'budu, contains both negation of the right to worship for everything besides Allah, and affirmation of the right to worship for Allah alone. The same as in the Shahada, La ilaha illallah. None has the right to be worshipped except Allah. A negation of worship and the right to worship for everything besides Allah, and affirmation of that right for Allah alone. Likewise. Then comes the saying of the author, Shaykh al-Islam, فَإِذَا قِيلَ لَكَ بِمَا عَرَفْتَ رَبَّكَ فَقُلْ بِآيَاتِهِ وَمَخْلُوقَاتِهِ. So if it is said to you, how did you come to know of your Lord? Then say, through His signs and those things which He has created. And the Arabic here, there's a slight, very, very slight difference in some of the wordings it has. فَإِذَا قِيلَ لَكَ بِمَا عَرَفْتَ رَبَّكَ, without the alif. بِمَا. فَإِذَا قِيلَ لَكَ بِمَا عَرَفْتَ رَبَّكَ. Or in this version here and in some versions, فَإِذَا قِيلَ لَكَ بِمَا عَرَفْتَ رَبَّكَ. And the meaning is one and the same. Through what or how did you come to know of your Lord? So if it is said to you, how did you come to know of your Lord, of your Rabb? Then say, through his signs and through those things which he has created. Sheikh Al-Fawzan said, you have said, Allahu Rabbi. You have said, my Lord is Allah. Or Rabbi Allahu alladhi Rabbani bi ni'amihi. Or you have said, my Lord is Allah, who nurtured me with his favours. So what is the proof that Allah is your Lord, who nurtured you with his favours? What is the proof? So the Shaykh, the author, Shaykh al-Islam, he said, so the Shaykh brought proofs from the revelation and from the intellect, as will follow. So if it is said to you, Bima arafta rabbak, how did you come to know of your Lord? The Shaykh said, because whoever claims something, I mean, this is a fair question. If you've made a statement, my Lord is Allah, the one who nurtured me through his favours, then it's fair that someone can raise a question. How have you come to this knowledge? How have you arrived at this? It's a fair question. The Shaykh makes the point. Because whoever claims something, then he must establish proof upon his claim. And now you, O Muslim, you have claimed, my Lord is Allah, the one who nurtured me through his favours. So what is the proof for that claim of yours? How have you come to know about your Lord? And then Shaykh makes the point, so he made the point. So whoever claims something, he must establish proof upon his claim. And then he quotes the famous line of poetry, وَالدَّعَاوَى إِذَا لَمْ يُقِيمُوا عَلَيْهَا بَيِّنَاتٍ أَهْلُهَا عَدْئِيَاءُ. And claims, if the people do not establish proof for them, then their people are mere claimants. Their people are mere claimants. Whatever claims that people make, if they don't establish proof for that claim, then they're just people making a claim with no evidence to back it up. So the Shaykh said, everyone who makes a claim must establish the proof for his claim. Otherwise, his claim will not be correct. You have said, my Lord is Allah, who nurtured me and nurtured the whole of the creation through his favours. What is the proof? Then say, the proof is his signs and those things which he has created, his ayat and his makhluqat, his signs and those things which he has created. Then Sheikh Al-Fawzan explains what is meant by this. He explains the first word, al-ayat, his signs. He said signs, al-ayat is the plural of ayah. And the word ayah in the language is a sign, showing something and indicating something. Just as he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, said, ayatul munafiq thalath. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in the beginning of the hadith, the ayah of the munafiq, the ayah of the hypocrite, is in three. I mean, the sign of the hypocrite lies in three. Sheikh Al-Fawzan said, meaning his sign, I mean the sign, that which points him out. In a footnote they mentioned this hadith, this being in the beginning of the hadith, ayatul munafiq thalath, the sign of the hypocrite is in three. They mention the hadith is reported by Al-Bukhari as hadith number 33, and by Muslim as number 59 from a hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. Then he said, his saying bi ayatihi, through his ayat, through his signs. Sheikh Fawzan said, meaning the signs and the proofs which indicate him, he the perfect and most high. So all of these created beings which you see, all of them were non-existent and then Allah produced them and created them by His ability. He the Perfect and Most High. And from them are created beings which are constantly renewed, such as plants and the newborn, and things which were not present, and then they came about. And you look at them, you look upon them. Who is the one who created them? He is Allah, the Perfect and Most High. Do they create themselves? Did anyone from mankind create them? No one can claim this. And no one is able to claim it. Then Shaykh quotes the evidence. He said, He the Most High said, Am khuliqu min ghayri shay'in Am humul khaliqun Am khalaqu as-samawati wal ard Bal la yuqinun. Surah At-Tur, the 52nd surah, ayahs 35 to 36, with the explanation. Or were they created without any creator? Or are they themselves the creators? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? Rather, they do not have certain faith. Sheikh Al-Fawzan said, these things existing in creation, these things did not produce themselves, nor were they produced by others from the created beings at all. And no one can ever create a tree or a gnat or a fly. Then the Shaykh quotes the ayah, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ لَن يَخْلُقُوا ذُبَابًا وَلَوْ اجْتَمَعُوا لَهُ. Surah Al-Hajj, the 22nd surah, ayah 73, with the explanation, those whom you call upon besides Allah, they can never create even a fly, even if they gather together to do it. Sheikh Al-Fawzan said, so this creation proves the Creator, He the Perfect and Most High. And therefore, when the Bedouin when it was said unexpectedly to the Bedouin, and the Shaykh quotes a famous example here that's quoted, having made the point here that the khalq is a proof for the Khaliq. The fact that there is a creation here is a proof for the Khaliq, the one who created it, He the Perfect and Most High. Then he quotes this famous example. He said, and therefore, for the same reason, the same point here, and therefore, when it was unexpectedly said to the Bedouin man, Bima arafta rabbak, how did you come to know about your Lord? Then a Bedouin man, he was asked unexpectedly, didn't have time to think about the answer, he was unexpectedly asked, how do you become aware of your Lord, that you've got a Lord, a Rabb? How do you know of Him? So he responded, Al-ba'ratu tadullu ala-al-ba'ir wal-atharu yadullu ala-al-masir ala yadullu hadha al-kawnu ala-al-latif al-khabir. That he said, this being a Bedouin man living in the desert, he said the piece of camel dung proves that there is a camel, and the footprint proves that there is a man who is travelling. Does not this creation prove the one who is subtle and kind, the one who is all aware? And this whole creation with the amazing things in it, does that not prove the Creator, His existence? If a piece of camel dung proves to you that there's been a camel there, you can't see the camel disappeared, but the piece of camel dung, it proves that sometime before there's been a camel there. A footprint, you can't see the person, he's gone, it proves that he was there though. How about this whole creation, the heaven and the earth, the oceans, the trees, the stars? Doesn't it prove, as he said, Al-Latif Al-Khabir, the wise Creator? Doesn't it prove that? And this was a Bedouin man. When he was asked unexpectedly this question, that was his response. Sheikh Al-Fawzan said, So when you see a footprint upon the ground, does it not prove to you that someone has walked upon this ground? If you see a piece of camel dung, does it not prove to you that there are camels upon this land, or that a camel has passed by? A piece of camel dung proves that there has been a camel, and a footprint proves that somebody has passed by. And that's where Sheikh Fawzan explanation of that point. Just as a side point, in addition, then the Sheikh, this is one of the Khatibs in Medina, Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Al-Qasim, mentioned something, a point in his explanation here. He said, at-tafakkur, reflecting upon the creation, increases iman. Continuing upon this point here, he said, reflecting upon the creation increases one's iman and connects the heart to Allah. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, and the best thing upon which breaths have been spent, obviously meaning the breaths, the best thing you spend your time upon is the breath, your breath, each breath of yours is one breath away from your lifespan. In your life and your lifespan. But literally the breaths. So quotes Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he said, the best thing which breaths have been spent upon is reflecting upon the signs of Allah and the amazing things which He has created, and moving on from it to connection of the heart and one's aspiration to Him, to the exclusion of everything from His created beings. The end of the quote. The best thing you can spend the time upon is reflecting upon the signs of Allah and the amazing things which He has made. But not stopping there, not just be amazed at that, rather moving on from that to connection of the heart to the one who created these things and the one who placed these signs. Connecting one's heart to Him and one's aspiration to Him, to the exclusion of the creation. Then to return to the main text and the explanation of Sheikh Saleh-Al-Fawzan, hafidhahullah, then comes the saying of Sheikh al-Islam, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ اللَّيْلُ وَالنَّهَارُ وَالشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ وَمِنْ مَخْلُوقَاتِهِ السَّمَاوَاتُ السَّبْعُ وَالْأَرْضُونَ السَّبْعُ وَمَا فِيهِنَّ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا. And from His signs are the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. And from that which He has created are the 7 heavens and the 7 earths, and whatever is within them and whatever is between them. Sheikh Fawzan said in explanation, his saying, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ اللَّيْلُ وَالنَّهَارُ وَالشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ, and from His ayat and from His signs are the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. Sheikh Fawzan said, so the ayat, the signs, in the signs of Allah, the ayat are of 2 categories. And the Sheikh Fawzan explains the 2 categories of ayat, signs of Allah. The first category is ayatun kawniyah, His signs within the creation, which we can see. That's the first kind of ayat of Allah, signs of Allah. Signs in the created things, which we can see, such as the heavens and the earth, and the stars, and the sun, and the moon, and the mountains, and the trees, and the oceans. They are called ayat, they are called signs, because they contain signs proving their Creator, He the Perfect and Most High. And therefore, Abu Atahiyah, and this poet that he mentioned, Abu Atahiyah, Just very briefly, Al-Dhahabi mentions him in Siyar A'lam al-Nubala as a side point, volume 10, page 195, and mentioning that he was in his time Ra's al-Shu'ara, the head of the poets. And he mentioned that he was Abu Ishaq. His name was Ismail ibn Qasim ibn Suwaid ibn Kaysan al-Anazi, their Mawla. He lived in the city of Baghdad, and he died in the year 210 or 213 at the age of 83. So with regard to the quote, the famous lines of poetry from him, Abu Atahiyah, that he said, فَيَا عَجَبًا كَيْفَ يُعْصَى الْإِلَهُ أَمْ كَيْفَ يَجْحَدُهُ الْجَاحِدُ وَفِي كُلِّ شَيْءٍ لَهُ آيَةٌ تَدُلُّ عَلَى أَنَّهُ وَاحِدٌ ولله في كل تحريكة وتسكينة في الورى شاهد. These 3 lines of poetry with the rough explanation. So how strange, how can the one deserving worship be disobeyed? Or how can the one who denies him deny him? Or how can the one who denies deny him? When everything contains a sign for him, proving that he is one. And there is a witness for Allah in every movement and every stillness of the creation. So just to quickly repeat that. So how strange, or how amazing. How can the one deserving worship be disobeyed? Or how can the one who denies deny him, when everything contains a sign for him, proving that he is one? And there is a witness for Allah in every movement and every stillness of the creation. So Sheikh Al-Fawzan comments and says, how can anyone deny Allah, the Majestic and Most High, and saying there is no Lord for this whole creation, and that these created beings came about without any creator, and that if they did come about through a creator, or Sheikh Al-Fawzan then refuted that, and he says, and if they did, I mean that's nonsensical to say this whole creation came about without any creator. So it's established that there is definitely a creator. Then Sheikh Al-Fawzan follows this by saying, and if they did come about through a creator, then who is this creator besides Allah, the Majestic and Most High? Explain to me. You will not find a creator besides Allah, the Perfect and Most High. Then Sheikh Fawzan quotes the ayah, أَمْ جَعَلُوا لِلَّهِ شُرَكَاءَ خَلَقُوا كَخَلْقِهِ فَتَشَابَهَ الْخَلْقُ عَلَيْهِمْ قُلِ اللَّهُ خَالِقُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ الْوَاحِدُ الْقَهَّارُ. Surah Al-Ra'd, the 13th surah, ayah 16, with the explanation. Or do they set up partners for Allah, who create with the like of His creation, so that the creation is obscured for them? Say, Allah is the creator of everything, and He is the one, the overwhelming subduer. So Sheikh Fawzan has ended explanation of the first type, the first category of signs, ayatul kawniyya, signs within the creation. Then he explains the second category of ayat, second category of signs. He said the second category is al-ayatul Qur'aniyya, ayahs of the Qur'an, which are recited from the revelation which has been sent down to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All of these prove the existence of the Lord, the Perfect and Most High, and His perfection, and His attributes, and His names, and that He is the one deserving of worship, He alone, with no partner. All of them prove that. the creational signs and the ayahs of the Quran. I mean, both of them, both categories of signs prove this point here. The existence of the Lord, He the Perfect and Most High, and His perfection, and His attributes and His names, and that He alone deserves worship, with no partner. He alone, with no partner, nothing else attributed, with worship attributed to Him. This is indicated by the creational signs and the signs of the Quran, the Ayatul Quran. Sheikh said, the creational signs prove their creator and the one who brought them into existence and the one who controls them. And the ayahs of the Quran contain the command to worship Allah. So Shaykh actually divides it. He says the creational signs, they prove, the signs of the creation prove their creator and the one who brought them into existence and the one who controls them. And the signs of the Quran, the ayahs of the Quran, contain the command to worship Allah. And they contain affirmation of Tawheed, of Lordship, and using it as a proof for Tawheed of worship. I mean, the signs of the Quran, they contain affirmation that Allah is the Lord, but using that as a proof for Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, that He deserves alone to be worshipped. And the command to worship Allah, the Perfect and Most High. All of the Quran is concentrated upon this meaning, and it was sent down for this meaning. Then Sheikh Fawzan said, and from His ayat and from His signs are the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. These are from the greatest signs of Allah, the Perfect and Most High. The dark night, which covers this creation, and the bright day, which brings light to this creation, so that they can go about for their work. He the Most High said, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمُ اللَّيْلَ سَرْمَدًا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ يَأْتِيكُمْ بِضِيَاءٍ أَفَلَا تَسْمَعُونَ قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمُ النَّهَارَ سَرْمَدًا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ يَأْتِيكُمْ بِلَيْلٍ تَسْكُنُونَ فِيهِ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ وَمِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ جَعَلَ لَكُمُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ لِتَسْكُنُوا فِيهِ وَلِتَبْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. Surah Al-Qasas, the 28th surah, ayahs 71 to 73, with the explanation. Say, do you see, if Allah made the night continuous upon you until the day of resurrection, what deity besides Allah could bring you light? Will you not then listen? Say, do you see, if Allah made the day continuous upon you until the day of resurrection, what deity besides Allah could bring you nighttime in which you could rest? Will you not see? And from His mercy upon you is that He has made the night and the day, so that you may rest therein and seek of His bounty, and that you should be thankful. Sheikh Fawzan said, this is from the greatest of the signs of Allah, this night and this day. The whole time is not night, and the whole of time is not day. Because if that were the case, then the welfare of the people would be lost, and they would become fatigued. Allah made the night and the day to follow each other in succession for them. And then the night and the day are ordered. Neither of them clashes, nor do they alter, upon a single ordered system, which proves the wisdom, the hikmah of the Hakim. It proves the wisdom of the All-Wise One, He the Perfect and Most High. Then the Shaykh said, the actions of the servants and that which they make end in destruction, He contrasts the actions of the Creator with the actions of the creation. He said the actions of the servants and those things which they make end in destruction, and they clash with each other, whatever they may be, and they stop working. As for the things created by Allah, the Mighty and Majestic, then they do not become destroyed, except at the time when Allah permits their destruction. So the night and the day continue, neither of them ceases working. Whereas things made by the creation stop working and come to destruction and perish, no matter how strong they are and how large they are. So how many abandoned cars do you see, and planes and ships, even though they were strong and had been taken care of, yet they end in destruction and they stop working? Does the nighttime stop working? Or does the daytime stop working? No. Because its maker has full ability and is all wise. He the Majestic and Most High. Sun Allahi alladhi atqana kulla shay. Surah An-Naml, the 27th Surah, Ayah 88. With the explanation, the creation of Allah, who has made everything firmly and precisely. Alhamdulillah, wa sallallahu ala Muhammad. And then following this, obviously the section carries on. A section comes, which Sheikh Al-Fawzan has given a heading to, Ad-Dalilu ala Rububiyyatihi wa Ilahiyyatihi subhanahu wa ta'ala. The proof for His Lordship and His divinity and right to worship, He the Perfect and Most High. So we'll leave that till next time, In Shaa Allah. Any clarifications? Catch me after, In Shaa Allah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Legislation for wars.